Blocksters, welcome to the Blockchain Hustler, a show where we talk to the leading founders, creators, celebrities, and disruptors who are hustling in Web3. Today's guest is Elise Ton. Elise is the co-founder and chief growth officer at Appreciate. Her passion for handbags and sustainability is her drive behind building Appreciate, a technology platform with a mission to reduce waste by encouraging use. Appreciate aims to improve the luxury ownership experience while reducing mindless consumerism by enabling owners to digitally interact with their physical items, helping brands to engage with their customers post-purchase, and providing partners with more item utility. Appreciate is transforming the relationship between us and our items by utilizing Web3 technology. Elise, thank you so much for joining us on the Blockchain Hustler today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to dive in. You're doing so many incredible things with Appreciate, and I absolutely love how you're basically disrupting and just reinventing the way consumers handle and think about their luxury items, and also how brands interact with buyers post-purchase. So to start off, just tell me a little bit about how you ultimately came up with this idea. Like, did you have an aha moment, and why was it important for you to build what you are building with Appreciate?
So it's a bit of a long story, and if you don't mind, I want to take you back to where it started, which for me was in the 5th grade. I was graduating elementary school, and I opened up a Macy's catalog, and I fell in love with this like Dooney and Burke pochette bag. It was white leather with a rainbow monogram, which to me at the time, I was 9, I thought it meant that it would go with any outfit. And so I was begging my mom to get me this gift because I thought it was perfect. And I got my first lecture into how to purchase and invest into a luxury good at that age, where she said, there's a better bag out there of higher quality and that is worth way more. So thankfully, she didn't gift me with a luxury handbag that year. But what I took from that experience was that, one, I love handbags and I see them as a form of personal expression. Fashion is an extension of who we are, and handbags make really great statement pieces. 2, I strongly associate moments of celebration with tangible items. So an item can be a physical reminder of something really cool or significant that's happened to me. And 3, my mom had a lot of faith in me, thinking that I knew what an investment was at the age of 9.
Yeah.
That being said, basically in the midst of a really cold COVID winter, Justin, my co-founder, and I were working on a deck called Stuff. And the core idea came out of the deck was, when we appreciate our stuff, owning can feel the same as buying. And there's this dopamine experience when it comes to buying things, especially luxury items. And so we were examining the difference between the addictive dopamine experience of purchasing and the sustainable serotonin experience of actually using our stuff. And so one of the initial questions were, how can we address mindless consumerism at scale? And as humans, we have a natural capacity and desire to accumulate resources for our survival. And so as a society, if we have to procure stuff, how can we do it more thoughtfully? So I saw Appreciate as a means to help people better connect with the things that they already own, to enable them to make better purchasing decisions and to foster more thoughtful consumerism. And the social good of what we can do is enable people to be just more intentional about, do I need to buy that other thing? Or is there something that's in my closet that I underutilize or have kind of forgotten about? So anyway, I quit my corporate job at the time and decided to build something really cool that reflected my beliefs, my values, and my experiences, which is Appreciate.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love how it's come completely full circle into what you're building now. And I love that you're utilizing this new technology with blockchain and using it behind Appreciate. And I read into what you guys are doing, and as far as I know, like Appreciate has credentials, which you call receipts with superpowers, which is really fun. Can you dive into that? How does it work down the pyramid of Appreciate's owner, brand, and partnership use with blockchain technology?
Of course. So I want to take you back into how we got into the Web3 space with Appreciate. So our initial concept was, what if our things lived on our phone? So if you can imagine your Apple Wallet, instead of having all your different credit cards, you would actually have all your different items and the value of that item. And so our initial concept was really based around Web2, but as we began conceptualizing our product and the technology to support it, we wanted to really think about empowering owners with longevity and utility. And with talks with our investors, consultants, and friends, we found that we could leverage our platform to be the bridge between Web2 and Web3. Unfortunately, Web3 has not gained as much traction with millennial and Gen Z women. We see them as an underserved community in the space, and we'd love to invite them in a way that seems natural and is full with education and support. And so I want to call back to an early email I had with a colleague, and I described it as, we want to get people comfortable and excited about uploading, owning, and sharing physical things through their phone, which is a brand new concept. But when we're able to do that, we can layer in the benefits of having a token of that item, of what Web3 can unlock. And so we want to first be impactful where we can convince users to put their items into our app. We provide them utility, and then we venture them into the ether, and allowing them to understand what is the benefit of having a token for that item. So as we think about intentional design, that's one of our brand principles. We build for the now and also for the future. So the familiar and the accessible Web2 UI is what's going to draw people into our application, but we build it on the rails of Web3 where we can launch people into Web3. That being said, I'll quickly shift gears and talk about the verifiable credential. So right now, if I were to receive a receipt, it is static. It is a snapshot in time, and it shows that I bought something. It does not show me or the brand or any other partners what happened in terms of ownership. It only proves purchase, not ownership. A verifiable credential is something that is static in the sense that it records Elise bought X item, but it's also dynamic in which it can show Elise decided to relist this item to Rebag. Elise then sold this item to Rebag. Rebag then sold it to someone named Bonnie, and now Bonnie owns it. And so what we can do is capture what happens after the point of sale. And that's really interesting for everyone in the ecosystem. For consumers, it shows me who has had provenance or their hands on this item, what has been the paper trail of this item. And for brands, it's really interesting because what it can do is actually show brands who are my most loyal customers,
Right.
who is an actual collector versus someone that may be, let's say, flipping items. It's very common now where on launch day, someone goes into Chanel, buys a bunch of items and doesn't hold any of them. They actually end up reselling it. So should Chanel consider that person to be highly loyal to the brand? Or should they be considering them as someone that is, flipping it, and the actual person that ends up with the item and holds it is the real loyalty user? It's also good for partners where if an insurance company, wants to offer insurance coverage for an item, they can say, okay, Elise has put in a request to insure a $10,000 Chanel bag. How do we know that we're protecting the bag for the right value? Well, we're able to see that she bought an authentic bag from the store and has held on to it since. And so we know that if we were to be covering this bag, it is likely free from fraud and very credible. And so let's extend that policy to her. So verifiable credentials capture what receipts can't. We can tell the story of what happens post-purchase. We can invite brands and partners to add different action items for owners to partake in post-purchase. And it kind of gives a story to the item itself. So I'll often use the example of, if I were to list one of my bags for resale, it would probably sell at whatever the market value is. But if Cardi B were to sell that same bag, she could ask a lot more for it because it was owned by Cardi B. And once we're able to open up the aperture and give people those types of details into the ownership or the story of the item, how does that change the way that we look at individual items, which to the human eye look the same, but actually hold a lot of sentimental or emotional or social value?
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. And it's so useful and has so much value for each person, the user and the buyer, the brand and the partner. It's really incredible. And I love how in the digital wallets for users, they're able to actually track their items as if they are investments.
Mhm.
How is Appreciate ultimately transforming the relationship between people and items through the use of a digital wallet?
So what we want to show people is that ownership isn't just about I bought something, right? It's
Yeah.
about the holistic experience of what does it mean to own X item. So what that could look like is, again, tracking the value of my item. Has it appreciated over time? Have I decided that maybe I'm going to hold this item for 5 years and then flip it once I'm able to make a profit? And so I can treat my items not as things or stuff, but as real assets.
Right.
Another way to think about it is, what if we were able to take out a line of credit that is backed by the value of our closet rather than being backed by our credit score? What could that do in terms of offering people access to capital? And again, allowing people to think of their items as assets and investments and not just as things or stuff. Another thing that we are hoping to look into, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, is to help inform consumers about sustainable shopping. And so if we're able to generate sustainability scores, we can let owners know that when you're purchasing from this brand, you're purchasing from a brand that's thought about the labor that went into this item, the water usage, the sustainable nature of the materials. How long does this leather usually last for? I'm a huge fan of vintage bags. And so what I love actually now is to shop for vintage items, which create more of this circular economy, where rather than buying something net new from the boutique, I can buy something that's pre-loved, that is not going to impact the carbon emissions, but also this item has really been made to a certain craftsmanship, where I can hold it now at the age that, the bag's aged at 30 years old, and I can still wear it 20 years from now, and it's still going to be in tip-top condition. So again, I think it's about informing users or having them think about their items in a new and exciting way, and to see the items as more than just tangible things, but either as a financial investment, as a memory, or as a collector's piece, and it's a part of history.
Right. There's so much utility behind what Appreciate is doing, but on top of that, the mindset of it all. I love that you're kind of shifting that mindset. How is this platform, technology, and just the new mindset that you are implementing when it comes to people viewing their luxury goods? How is it reducing waste overall? And why is it important for companies and consumers to care more about the ownership experience and also the product life cycle?
I love this question because I get really nerdy about it. So I often think about, like, what is someone's buying philosophy and what do they look for when they're making a purchase or adding something to their collection? I'll use myself as an example because it's a little bit easy. I love to buy classic pieces that are very timeless, that are going to appreciate over time. And that can either be new from the boutique or it could be a vintage piece. I'm going to use the example of the Louis Vuitton Neo Noe bag. It is a bucket bag that got very popular last summer. I actually purchased this bag for my older sister as a gift. And in doing some research, I realized that the bag was designed originally as the first handbag to carry champagne. It's meant to carry 5 bottles total, 4 of which are upright, and the 5th one is upside down. That's kind of pressed by the other 4. And when she learned that, she was like, I already love this bag, but I also love champagne. So I love this bag even more than how I loved it before. And it's an example of could be something sitting in your closet that you already maybe like or are favorable to, but learning more about the history and the cultural context of that bag makes you love that bag way more. And what that could do is it shoots up your serotonin, where you're finding that you're bonding with this bag, or you found a use for it because you're using it more often because you have this emotional connection to it. And it's suppressing the need of dopamine, where it's like, hey, I love this item. I may not need to buy another bucket bag because, multiple brands have bucket bags, but it's really cool that Louis Vuitton made the very first one. Yeah. And the Noe is a recreation of the original Noe, which was the bucket bag for champagne. So it's reducing waste in that it helps people appreciate the things that they already have a little bit more. It also is really helpful in reducing waste when it comes to net new purchases. So if I am, for example, looking at purchasing a couple new bags and I'm picking between, let's say 3 bags, and I actually want all 3, I can be a little bit more thoughtful and think about, okay, what is the possible resale value or appreciation value of this bag? What are the materials being used? Which bag is going to hold up the best? Does one of these bags have a special cultural or social symbol behind it that I care about more? And so with Appreciate, in our explore function, what we're hoping to offer is a curated view into the high level details about this item. So users are able to say, okay, I wanted to buy these 3 bags, but actually this one I connect with so much more than the others, or this bag is actually going to appreciate so much that I would be losing money by not purchasing it now. I'm going to make a better buying decision and be more thoughtful about what I'm adding to my collection rather than buying all 3. So I guess a long-winded or a TLDR answer is, through Appreciate, we have a function called Explore where you can explore different items that are not currently in your Appreciate wallet. And you can also explore content about things that are already in your wallet. So you're either consuming the content to better appreciate the things that you already own, or to better understand the things that you're looking to buy and then make better buying decisions. A lot of times, or what we're seeing more now, is people are making buying decisions based on appreciation value. So rather than maybe buying 2 Tory Burch bags that may not appreciate and may actually depreciate, they'll just buy 1 Louis Vuitton bag that will appreciate in 2 years. So those 2 bags that would be maybe not as used or eventually resold would transform into this 1 bag that becomes someone's holy grail bag that they wear often, or they actually hold and maintain for some number of years.
Right. I love that so much. I think it's so important, the intentionality behind the purchases. Like, I also love handbags, and I have had my eye on a YSL. And that's the other thing. It's like these purchases, they really, you do have to look at them as investments because they're not cheap. And so the intentionality behind it and just being very mindful of this purchase, I think, is so important. So I love that Appreciate is doing that. And I love how you're also just enabling Gen Z and millennial consumers, which you mentioned earlier, helping them specifically to engage with Appreciate and then engage with Web3 as well, and kind of helping to onboard those generations. Can you talk to me a little bit about how Appreciate is doing that?
Yeah, so right now I will be frank in that our Appreciate wallet is fully in the Web2 space, but we are built with Web3 Rails. So in the future, if you have, let's say, 10 items in your Appreciate wallet and you decide, I want to take this item with me into a certain blockchain or into another Web3 wallet, we will have that feasibility and that flexibility where you would be able to do that. Oftentimes, one of our investors says the best Web3 wallet onboarding experience is not knowing that you're being onboarded into Web3. So we're thinking really deeply about how do we design things and how do we craft language to help the user feel comfortable in, well, one, putting very expensive items onto a application that they're new to and feel that they trust this, right? Putting their expensive items into this digital wallet. And then 2, feeling safe to say, okay, it's living in my Appreciate wallet. I'd love to transfer it maybe to my Disco wallet or my MetaMask wallet. So we are thinking about what type of user experience and education is necessary to help people not just understand the flow and why there's utility, but to feel really confident. And we do find that education so important because if people understand the benefits of doing something, they're going to be more likely to do it. We're still in the stage of early adopters. So we're not quite there yet, but what we're hoping to do is, again, helping people understand there is a digital interaction that can happen for your physical good and getting people used to that paradigm before we shift them all the way over into Web3.
So true. I think that's really smart. What are your thoughts on just like the future of fashion and digital collectibles in Web3? Because obviously with Appreciate, there's interoperability. Just your predictions or opinions. What do you think as far as fashion, Web3, and even the metaverse, things like that?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the overall metaverse and then drill down into fashion specifically. So I always like to recount that the internet started over 50 years ago in the midst of the Cold War as a government weapon. You know, it enabled scientists and researchers to communicate and share data. And I don't think anyone back then could have fully and accurately predicted what the internet has evolved to today. And I think we're at a similar place in Web3, where so many of us founders are throwing our bets into the hat, and we're hoping that what our product does is gain traction and provide utility. So everyone's strategy right now is crafting a product that has real world utility for humans today and humans of the future. Web3 to me is about decentralization, autonomy, and movement. So can I bring my physical items with me into the digital space? And from there, can I move my item from Web3 wallet to Web3 wallet? And can it evolve from a verifiable credential to a token? And how does the identity of an item change when it has both a physical form and is digitally represented as, let's say, a verifiable credential and a token? And how does my relationship with the item change as that happens? And that's what we're basically exploring at Appreciate today. In terms of fashion specifically, there has been a huge influx and influence when it comes to digital clothing that will never, or at least for now, never be rendered into something physical, but you were able to buy a collectible piece from Fall Fashion Week or Spring Fashion Week. And I think there's something really interesting to that. I don't know if it means that we're going to all live as digital avatars and dress our avatars in a fun way that our physical personas maybe wouldn't do. But I think that could be a signal of that. I do find that anyone who loves handbags, they have a knack for loving art. And so I kind of view it from a different point of view where I see fashion as a form of art, and humans have been collecting art and have been appreciating art for centuries. And I think we're going to continue to do that. Our galleries are just going to turn into digital wallets rather than just being brick and mortar studios. I don't think we're ever going to move away completely from those brick and mortar studios, but we will be able to appreciate art both on the wall and in the wallet. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And just before we wrap up, I want to ask what is coming up next for Appreciate that you can talk about? What can we expect? And also, where can everyone follow and connect with you and Appreciate?
Awesome. So I don't know if this is going to come out before Fashion Week, but we are hosting a activation for New York Fashion Week here in Soho, where we're going to let people test out some of our machine learning technology, where we're able to show users that with a simple photo at a key corner of the bag, we can actually tell you one bag from the other. And that's really interesting because we're able to prove item provenance. And it also allows us to cue people in on the fact that there are certain details of a bag that may be unnoticed to the human eye, but can be registered by technology so that you can feel better and know that the item that maybe is listed on a marketplace is the same item that Elise had bought from the Louis Vuitton store. So we're able to prove that, you know, the same item that's being sold is the authentic item that Elise bought previously. And so it helps to counteract any of the counterfeits or the fraud out there. And it also can prove that, hey, Elise said that she's owned this bag for 10 years. She was able to take a verified photo when she bought it. She's able to take it again today. She seems like she's good for the ownership of this bag. So let's go ahead and extend her credit. Basically, the activation is meant to show how technology can prove ownership and how proving ownership can enable other types of utility. Other than that, I would highly recommend for everyone to download our app from the Apple Store. You can find us at Appreciate, and you can start your digital wallet, and you can start adding items in from your favorite luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Prada, etc.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. And I love the name too, Appreciate. It's just so wholesome and positive, and I love that it reflects the whole ethos of the company.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Elise, thank you so much for joining us on the Blockchain Hustler today. I really appreciate your time.
Likewise.